hospital readmissions in the country are somewhere between 18 and 20%. You have to continue to change, evolve. Many have false steps been made by standing still. When everybody else says, I can't find caregivers, we're finding caregivers. Welcome to change. So we need to keep the seniors healthy, happy, and productive at home. You live in a technology world. In order for you to have great retention and great caregiving, is that you have to invest in those caregivers. So our marketing team is able to drive over 400,000 caregiver applicants.
It's an honor and pleasure, Peter, to talk to you. We take really great pride in interviewing as part of our digital magazine. We launched a digital magazine last week on home care, and we thought we talk to and get their perspective, because we are a technology AI software company focused on home care, but we need to somewhere converge with the reality, right? Of what's happening, because I'm sure you're an entrepreneur. At the same time, you had a vision to say, hey, I need to really take care of these seniors who are really in need of something different. And that was 20 years back. So I'll just begin the interview by introducing yourself and talking a little bit about how you started the journey into the home care world. And it is fascinating. I've been just in few years and I'm just drawn to it, right? Being in the corporate world, consulting world, where we have lived paycheck to paycheck, which I'm still have, but you took the leap of faith to say, I want to make a difference. And that's what I wanted to hear, your personal story as part of that, because that's what's initiate this whole disruption that you created in the home care world.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. So after a 20-year career in corporate America, I wanted to, and with a good friend and partner, Tony Bonacuse, he and I wanted to find a way to work together. And we decided we wanted to start a business together, and we just needed the right business to start. And so we challenged each other to come up with 5 business ideas to what we could do. And on top of each of our lists was senior care. So we never got to the second through the 5th because we both had the same business in mind. He was dealing with personal issues in his family. I've always been motivated to start this because of my mother and my dealings with helping her as she aged. And so that was my motivation. We put our heads together. We opened a location in Baltimore, and then I opened a location in Southern California. Once we were able to get senior helpers working coast to coast, we said, okay, the idea was always to franchise. Now, we didn't know what franchising was, but our idea was to franchise. And we knew there were other home care companies before us that had franchised. So we really wanted to take that opportunity to say, okay, this is where we want to go. And then in 2005, we actually started offering franchise opportunities around the country, and started out slower. But, we started this at the end of 2025. We sold 3 franchises. But started building momentum over the 2006 and 2007, 2008. Today, we have 390 locations in 45 states, Australia, and Canada. So it's grown significantly. I think Senior Helpers is very different when it comes to other home care companies. I call ourselves non-clinical, highly skilled. But we also do things when it comes to chronic care management. We do things around disease management. We know that 60% of all seniors have at least one chronic illness. We wanted to create programs that made it easier for us to help train our caregivers on how to deal with someone with Parkinson's, with COPD, with Alzheimer's and dementia. So we were the first ever to jump into that space back in 2010, and really took by storm kind of the industry from a perspective, but we became experts in those fields, and our franchisees became certified in those fields. And so I think that was very different. I attended a disease management conference in 2009. Everybody wanted to know why I was there. You're in the personal care space. You guys don't do anything with skill. You don't need to know all this stuff. I said, well, no, we need to know this stuff. And and it's really helped to really kind of develop and kind of change our trajectory of why we're considered one of the most qualified home care companies out there, and our quality of care is our net promoter scores are almost 70 when it comes to our quality of care, which is really outstanding for net promoter. So that was part of it. But as we started working through the years, I also started looking at how can we be better at assessing families? How do we keep people out of the hospital? How do we keep people out of readmissions back into the hospital when they come out? And we created a tool called Life Profile, which is an assessment tool that looks at medical conditions and socialization and behavioral and basically their environment that they're living in, and actually scores their ability to live independently at home with almost 18 years worth of data. One of my corporate roles, I was a Six Sigma green belt, and I'm a big person believing in data. And I think that was something that was lacking in our personal care space, as really trying to understand what are outcomes, and outcomes to me are the result of what we do. And I think personal care companies have never really been focused on that. And I think that's a huge mistake. So we really have dug into Life Profile. We've done more than 40,000 assessments on our app, and really are able to take care of people the way they need to be taken care of. It creates a custom care plan. It creates recommendations for DME, for home care, for family care, different types of things for home modification, so that we can then, it creates what's called an autonomy score, an APS score. And that APS score is like a fuel gauge, and it goes from red all the way to green. So we can get a score, and that score dictates their chances of getting into a hospital readmission based on their score. And what levers and buttons can we push to improve that score to get it into the yellow, into the green, so that they will not be going back into the hospital. Hospital readmissions in the country are somewhere between 18 and 20%. When we do Life Profile within senior helpers, it's under 3%. So it really helps us save the cost of care, but more importantly, the disruption to the family. I had a friend who's a geriatrician who tells me an ER visit for a senior is a 30-day sentence away from home, because ERs have been never sued for admitting a patient. They've been sued for discharging them. So they're always going to try to get that senior into the hospital, out to rehab, and eventually back home. So we need to keep the seniors healthy, happy, and productive at home, and keep them away from hospitals, which obviously disrupts the family, but more importantly, it increases the cost of the healthcare system. And we want to make sure that we are on top of that. And this has helped us out a great deal. We've added on some center of excellence, which we do all of our skill training for caregivers. We truly invest in the training of caregivers. A lot of companies have websites and pages on their website of this disease and that chronic illness. We put our money where our mouth is. We invest in these people. We want to make sure they do it the senior helpers way. You say you've done caregiving before, prove it. How do you do transfer? How do you use a Hoyer lift? That's all done in these center of excellence across the country. That makes us very unique as well. And then lastly, we've been really focused more on trying to help people through the government payment programs, and that never started out that way. So we now do, we used to do 100% family funded private pay. We're now at 66%. So we've now moved more forward to actually working with people to get government to reimburse. And that's really interesting, because when I look at home care, I really think of home care as the haves, the have-nots, and everyone else. The haves got whatever money they want to do for long-term care. They can afford it. The have-nots need the government to jump in there. But what about everybody else in that middle market? They don't have enough money to pay for traditional home care, some traditional long-term care options, but they're not poor enough that the government jumps in and helps pay for that. What do you do for them? So we now have created strategies and solutions for people in that middle market that no one else is addressing. So we're really trying to look at ways that we can, try to change, because we know that 70% of people that are aging seniors are going to need assisted living assisted care in their lifetime. And that's important for us to know that whether you're a have or have not or in the middle market, you all have this need for care in the future. So how do we make sure we can address that as well? So that's been the journey. I've done 4 franchise brands in my time. I've sold Senior Helpers 4 times, just sold it a 4th time last March, this past March. So we just continue to evolve as an organization, but we have tremendous franchisees. They're fantastic people. The work that they do is really servants work in the field, and they're very successful at it. We have a great team to support them, but it's all about a big Senior Helpers family. So.
That's a fantastic, fantastic summary of the journey that you went through and the disruption. And you just changed the definition of disruption here, Ross. Very, very fascinating because I didn't even know. I thought you were a traditional home care agency running franchises, and you just mean business. This is unbelievable that what you have done, and this story needs to be told. Let me put it that way, right? Because there's not only you have combined senior care with caregivers who can go to home in a traditional way and provide I think I like the way you call it non-clinical rather than saying non-medical or personal care, right? So I like that definition. And then, but you've added these value-added solution services to your organization, which you didn't have to, if you think about it, right? I will give you an example from my personal story here. I live on the street here in Sugar Land, Texas, and my neighbors, 3 of them are senior couples. They are in their 70s and 80s, and we are fortunate. I don't have parents anymore, so does my wife. We've lost our parents back in India, and these 3 senior couples are just like a parent. My kids grew up since the last 17, 18 years. Now, the last 18 years, they have gone from one stage to the other. We have been observing that, right? And I did not know there's something called a home care agency even existed, right? And we have one of the couple's wife is going through dementia right now.
Yeah.
And she has the symptoms, and then she just progressed very fast over a couple of years, where she literally comes out of her house and then she walks by herself on the street, starts knocking doors. Sometimes we had to call emergency EMS 911 to locate her. It reached that point. Now, not only you have provided the avenue for these senior couples, and imagine the plight of the husband, right? He's not used to taking care of his wife. It's wife was taking care of him all the time. And he underwent his heart surgery just before his wife started showing symptoms, and he's recovered, thank goodness. So I see them and say, how can they get help, right? In many, many ways. And that's where I think senior care could be a perfect opportunity for them, and with the 360-degree view of service portfolio. Like, for example, who thinks about a home change setting? Who thinks about an assessment going from red, green, and yellow? So you really, really disrupted. So congratulations, Peter, for that. And other thing I found very interesting is that you're going global with your brand. So tell me a little bit more about that. America has enough senior population.
Well, I tell you, we are global, but we're not, it's a great point, but we're global, but we're strategically global. There's so much opportunity in the US that 99.5% of our focus is on the US. We have an Australian master franchise with 17 locations there. We have 2 folks up in Canada that's helping us expand. In Canada, we have, I think it's 7 or 8 locations there, but that's growing. But again, it's selective for those 2 reasons. They both speak English, except for Quebec.
Yeah.
They both speak English. And and I think if we were to expand globally any further, it would be more the UK and the UK itself. And but we're not, we have 380, 90 territories of locations in the United States, but we have over 800 territories that have people in. So there's so much opportunity here in the States to continue to grow. And we add between 30 and 35 franchisees every year,
Wow.
into that mix. So we're very focused on the US. And I think looking at, I love what you're talking about. I used to despise the term non-medical, non-skilled. I just don't think that's two negatives don't make a positive. So I
Yes.
got rid of that a long time ago, and that's why it's non-clinical, highly skilled. But I think, what your couple that you described is going through is that no one told us that we're going to have to take care of people from a caregiving perspective. We all knew we had to take care of people in our family, just from a family perspective. But caregiving and being a family member are two different things. Okay. So your couple that you're dealing with dementia, they have what's called a wandering syndrome. So depending on what, that issue is with dementia, they need help. Now he needs help to find out what we can do. And what we have at Senior Helpers is a program called Senior Gems. And we partnered with a fantastic dementia care specialist in Teepa Snow to develop this program back in 2010. We've been evolving this program ever since. So we train our caregivers on working with people with dementia or Alzheimer's under this program. We train them on what they can do, not what they can't do. We're focused on saying, okay, we know you're having dementia. That doesn't mean you can't live. And what some of the things that we can do to help you. There's some things we have to be careful with, but what are some of the things we can actually really help you with? But also, more importantly, the family. The family stress on family caregiving in this country is dynamic because of what's happening, because they're actually getting sicker than the person they're taking care of. The stress level that's they're causing, imagine this person just went through a heart procedure.
Yep.
Imagine the stress on their heart, trying to take care of their loved one, okay, and not understanding how to do it. So we not only train our caregivers, we train our family caregivers as well in our Center of Excellence. We train them on how to deal with someone with dementia. We deal with that and say, here's what you need to understand. Here's how their life is, how they're looking through their lens. Okay, here's how that you can reflect that in a positive way so that it takes the stress out of you, but gives your wife or your spouse more that they can do with that. And that's part of the caregiving and what we try to do with Senior Helpers. We look at the client holistically. We don't look at the client as just client. We know the client's part of a family, usually, and there's these other family members that are part of that family caregiving circle. We want to train them how to use the Hoyer lift. We want to train them how to do transfers. We want to train them how to deal with people with COPD or dementia, Alzheimer's, or Parkinson's. And we do that. We do that for free. We train those people because it doesn't do us any good to be in a home for 30, 40 hours a week when there's 168 hours in a week. So there's more time we're not in the home than we're in the home. So for us to do a really great job while we're there, but then the family drops the ball because they don't know how to do the job when we're not there.
Interesting.
Okay, that causes falls, that causes issues, that causes them going to hospitals and ERs, and that's a huge disruption on the family. So we really try to look at the whole health of the family, not just, okay, we're there, we're taking good care of them, but it doesn't do us any good from a business perspective. But more importantly, it doesn't do good for the family's perspective to have this disruption of going back and forth to the hospital all the time. Doesn't make a great deal of sense. So that's really kind of where I'm at with how we look at this a lot differently. Yeah, you're right. We could have been family funded personal care, just done personal care like everybody else. But we've been growing at more than 20% a year on a pretty big denominator because we're trying to be innovative with what we're doing, and we don't settle. One of my favorite quotes in life is, many a false step's been made by standing still. Okay, you have to continue to change, evolve. You live in a technology world. Welcome to change.
Yes.
So you have to be able to get on top of the AI and all the things that are happening because we have to be able to utilize them. For those families that can't afford traditional care, you've got to package care with technology. And that's what we do for the middle market. So we're constantly looking at solutions to give people peace of mind, for when we're not there, so that they can get the help they want. I mean, it doesn't do any good to have a pendant in case you fall, when 70% of the time when you fall, you never push the pendant. Okay, you don't let anybody know. Now, there's a reason for that. You could be unconscious.
Yeah.
Okay, but you'd be amazed that there's technology out there that can actually, diagnose, hey, there's a fall happen here. Okay, let's get someone over there right away, or let's alert the home care agency or senior helpers, hey, we can actually get there to help to intervene. While it's still, while we can do something to help them before it gets too serious. So we've got to be able to leverage that technology in the home, the smart technology, the ability to really diagnose certain issues within the home, whether it's sleep patterns, eating patterns, bathroom patterns. All those things can build up into, oh, what's happening in there? A lot of seniors have challenges with UTI, urinary tract infections, or big issues. Well, technology can actually track and sense that's actually happening to them before it gets too serious. So there's all these things we have to be open-minded to. And I've always learned that there's always smarter, better, technology and people out there than me. So God gave me 2 ears, 1 mouth, use them proportionally. Listen to what people have out there, understand what are options out there, and never say the word can't. Okay, you've got to find a way. American, not Americans. You got to
Yeah.
find a way, okay, to say, I want to hear you out. And yeah, maybe it's a bridge too far. Maybe it's something I can't do, but I want to know before I say no. And I think being inquisitive now drives my team crazy because I'm constantly throwing ideas at them.
Yes.
I consider myself the chief strategy officer of the company. So I always tend to look at, okay, where do we need to be? This middle market's been a focus for me for years now because it's the undiscovered country. It's a market that no one really targets, but it has more people than any of the markets combined. So how do we find a way to address that? And I think we've done that really well with senior helpers, and it continues to evolve.
Excellent, excellent. That's fascinating, Peter. I'll just switch to also on your caregiver side, right? So we know after COVID there's a workforce shortage. How is your retention rate? Because now you combined, you talked about technology, AI. That means you're giving a toolkit and ammunition, if I have to use that word, to the caregivers. I'm sure there is some amount of passion that these caregivers are walking in with the ammunition they carry, the training, the center of excellence, the tools for assessment, and which translates to a better or significantly high level of experience for caregivers as well as for the patient. So when they see that, and it turned around on iterations for every care cycle, you see that these caregivers start loving you too. So how
Yeah.
is that? Do you see any trend around that too, where agencies just struggling with the cost of onboarding a caregiver to retention? And it's very high in the industry. So how are you addressing that on the other side of the equation or the coin?
Yeah, great question. So
Yeah.
I've seen years ago that, we're going to run out of caregivers a long time
Yes.
ago.
Yes.
So we as senior helpers have really pushed to be the employer of choice. So we have been now just got 6 years in a row, Great Place to Work by Fortune Magazine. We're
Wow.
very focused at, people knowing that we respect them and we care. In fact, the scores we got for Great Place to Work were almost in the low 90s, which they've never seen. And so we've been really targeted at, for many years in this industry, the client was up here the caregiver was down here from a perception perspective.
Yes.
And we've flipped that ourselves and said, no, the client's really important. They pay the bill. And
Yes.
at the same time, the caregivers who are investing in, and we can't afford, we have to do, that's why we did a center of excellence. We're willing to train our people from scratch. We were just given a great place to work for millennials. So we're going after people going into the workforce. In order for you to have great retention and great caregiving, is that you have to invest in those caregivers. You have to pay them fairly. It's got to be a livable wage. We probably pay more for caregivers than anybody that is out there, because we know their value. But at the same time, we invest in educating them. The worst thing you could do to a caregiver, and I've seen this, lived it myself, is you hire them. You bring them into an orientation, give them here's your paperwork, welcome to the company, and I need you to go out to this place at 2:00. Nothing else. That's what they do. They just send out to a client, know nothing about it, other than the name of the client, and they need help with this 4 things. And that's not good. Okay.
That's not good. It's like even McDonald's won't do that.
Yeah. They'll just put a display thing up. But yeah. I think, we don't believe in that. So we've been able to really manufacture more caregiver opportunities because we are willing to train them from scratch. We are wanting to get a great diverse workforce in to work with families. And we want to do everything we can and offer incentives and reward programs to keep them. And those are things that we've really invested a great deal about, and it shows. So our marketing team is able to drive over 400,000 caregiver applicants to our franchisees and our corporate locations every single year. So we're able to drive a lot of volume. When everybody else says, I can't find caregivers, we're finding caregivers. And then when everybody says I can't keep them, we're keeping caregivers. So it's an investment, it's a commitment on the part of the offices and the team to really tell them that there's nothing more important to you than having these amazing caregivers. You got to treat them like gold. There's no product we're selling. Okay. We have our people is our brand. So if you're going to have a quality brand like Senior Helpers, then you have to have quality people in that brand. And that starts with caregiving as well as your team. I always talk about you muscle build your organization. You always want to build on strength and invest in that strength because it will come back to help you 10 times over. So a lot of times in this industry, I think people don't pay fairly. They think they are. Okay. and caregivers in the past do this job because it's a servant work. Yeah. It's almost spiritual to them. And I'm very spiritual as well. And I love this business because it's mission driven for profit. But at the same time, are they really taking care of them? Are they really bringing them on board? Are they showing them how much importance they are? Are they doing little things for them? For gas cards and little incentives and things, and cards and birthday cards and holidays, here's a turkey and all these things. Yeah. Are you really doing those things? Are you talking the talk or are you walking the walk? And we really try to focus on that. And I would tell you, we look at unbilled hours all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm a data geek, I mentioned that before. And we've noticed that our unbilled hours are the lowest it's ever been. Wow. So that would show you that we're doing much better on the staffing front and retaining both our caregivers and our clients longer.
Excellent. So
I've got a few more minutes, by the way. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we'll take one more question, and then sure. I think we'll be good. But I can keep going on. I'm just getting.
I can talk too, as you can probably tell. Yeah. I just got another meeting.
Sure. Okay. So let's take one final question. We talked about AI and technology. That's where we are in that space too. How do you see the industry now going from here? and you have adopted technology in a big way in terms of AI, data, trends, your own tools, your own IP, I would say, like life assessment tools. How do you see this industry now moving forward in the next, I wouldn't say 5 years, it's too long. Next 2 years
I think it's too
itself
long.
it's going through a disruption right now. What's your view on that? You're a thought leader, you're a visionary right now, and you're ahead of the curve in my view. What's your thoughts on that? And how do you think that other agencies that you want to give an advice who wants to start an agency and to make a difference, right? Like I said, it's more spiritual. It's for profit, spiritual. You still make money at the same time. You're doing something good that you'll be remembered forever. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would tell you, I don't think we're ahead of the curve as much as I'd like to be. So I think that technology, if you think you've got it, you don't. And I think that it is changing so fast that that's why we're constantly trying to look at different options and opportunities and testing. Now, the good news, we have 5 corporate stores of senior helpers where we actually own that location, so that we have abilities to try different technologies at some of those locations that we can do before we roll that out to 300 and some offices out there. So we're constantly trying to look at technology. And I think, especially with that middle market, okay, I think technology will play a role in all of it, but I think when you're getting into government payment programs, there's no reimbursement for the technology. So part of the challenge there is, are you going to throw technology in when you're not really making a lot of money at doing it? That's a challenge. For the haves, absolutely. The people that have the money, family funded, you want to give them the best technology as well. But you almost have to, not do hourly care that we're traditionally looking at in this middle market, this everyone else category I talked about. And the only way to do that is with technology. And you have to be able to sit there and say, look, I'm gonna combine personal care, with technology and put it together, but it's going to be 40% the cost of home care. So how do I package that? How do I have people, I call it the Liberty Mutual strategy, pay for only what you need, right? So just give them only what they need right now and customize that for them. And that's what we've been trying to do. But technology is really playing a role. And I think the AI portion of this, as you look at what's happening in the industry and technology, it's been eye-opening to see the organizations that are getting in, from the Amazons to the Walmarts who tried but kind of backed out, to looking at, there's some major players that are trying to get into this technology space. But I think the challenge they have is they need to have someone who actually understands how it's delivered.
Yes.
There's been great technology I've seen for years. It's just, will the dogs eat the dog food, right? Will the people actually use this technology? Is it going to work in that environment? And I think that's where we can come in and collaborate and partner with. That's why I've never met a technology company I wouldn't want to talk to. How's that? However, I mean, I might not always use them, but I want to know. I just was speaking at Home Care 100 a couple of weeks ago, and I met with several technology companies. I have follow-up conversations with them and my IT team, because I want to stay ahead as best I can. I want to be leading edge, not bleeding edge, right? So I don't want to bleed to death. I want to, be out front of it, but I'm more than happy that there's other people testing it. But I also am not going to hide from it, because I've learned in life, you don't want to be another Blockbuster, when it comes to, oh, that streaming Netflix will never work. Okay, so no. You can't put your head in the sand. But I also know that, AI is not going to help someone go to the bathroom or
Yes.
get changed or help them take a bath. Not yet, anyway.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got to add some common sense to this as well and say, look, technology can go all the way to here, then we got to take it from there to here. But you've got to package it. I'm a big believer in bundling and packaging and customizing it, almost like a Chinese menu. I want one from column A, I want one from column B, I want one from column C. I want to be able to look at it and have that flexibility, and that's what we're trying to strive for.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Peter, for your interview. Like I've seen you in, I think one of the other interviews, you don't want to call this end of life for a senior, you call it celebration of life. And
Yeah,
that's
I am
such
a
a
big
powerful
proponent
statement.
of,
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent, and aging in this country is something we all have the fortunate, hopefully get fortunate to go through. And if you're going through it, why can't it be fun? Why can't it be positive? Why can't we celebrate it? And it's a mission for me on why I still do this, is that everything I'm trying to do, whether it's my senior helpers business, my town square business, or Adult Day, some of the foundational board work I do, it's all about how do I educate people on what their options are so they can live their golden years as best they possibly can. And if we're going to all have to go through this, why can't we make it a better journey than it is that it isn't today? Why can't we make it better? So that's, I've got a whole, I could talk about that for hours, but that to me is really kind of, we got to turn negatives into positives. And yes, we're all terminal, I get that. But at the same time is, why can't the end of your life be as fun as the beginning of your life? And I think that there's ways of making that happen. We just need a lot of really great people to put our heads together to say, how do we do it? And I want to do anything I can to change that world. Maybe it's world peace, world hunger. But at the same time, I think we really can do something that makes it different and makes it really a positive impact on the person who's aging. So we don't have to look at retirement as, oh my God. No, retirement should be fun. You worked hard all your life. But here's some things you can do to make sure that you don't get dementia, you don't have Alzheimer's, you have health, and you're being proactive. All those things we can teach you to try to do that so that your aging journey can be one that's actually enjoyable. And that would be my personal goal there. But I appreciate the time. It's always great to see you, and hope this is helpful for you.
That's been fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Peter. That has been very, very intriguing, and I must say that I learned a lot from this conversation, just as a person, right? It's been a life lessons for me. For when I go through.
Good luck with your neighbor.
Yes, 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 yes. So I know how to direct them better now with this conversation.
I appreciate it. Well, anything
Great.
else I can help you with, just let me know. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. Take care. Have a great weekend. Thanks for your time.
Bye now.
Bye.